My name's Jimmy. Into the microcosm on the owl.
It's getting so lonely inside this bed. To know if I should lick my wounds or say it was me instead. There's an aching inside my head. It's telling me you're better off alone. But after midnight, morning will come. Every day we'll see if you went and get some. They say that girl, you know she acts too tough, tough, tough. But it's gonna turn off the light, turn off the light. They say that girl, you know she acts so rough, rough, rough. But it's gonna turn off the light, turn off the light. I said, follow me, follow me, follow me down, 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 down till you see all my dreams. Not everything in this magical world is what it seems. I looked above the other day, 'cause I think I'm good and ready for a change. I live my life by the moon, by the moon. If it's high, play it low. If it's harvest, go slow. And if it's full, then go. But after midnight, morning will come and the day will sing. Yeah, if you're gonna get some. They say that girl, you know she acts too tough, tough, tough. But it's gonna turn off the light, turn
All right. Looks like we've given people enough time to show up.
I lay my head onto the sand. The sky resembles a backlit canopy with holes punched in it. I'm counting UFOs. I signal them with my ladder. And in this moment I am happy. Happy. I wish you were here. I wish you were here.
Rockin' Rio, are you there?
Hello, hello.
What's happening, man?
Not too much. And a
Long,
whole lot.
long day at work today, or did you get the day off?
No, I never get the day off. I'm almost looking forward to quarantine.
I know. So you were mentioning that there's a whole situation going on now. If you want to leave, if you want to go on vacation, you want to head down to visit some relatives. Explain a little bit about that, man, because I mean, I don't think people understand exactly what people are talking about us having to do without the, how much of an inconvenience it's going to be if you can't prove your immunization.
Well, it's actually they passed this a couple months back, well, May or June or July, something like that, with the travel restrictions. But they recently they upped them again in October and upped them again at the beginning of November. So now it's if you leave the state for more than 24 hours and you come back in, you're supposed to fill out a form and register and quarantine for 14 days. And, you're allowed like to travel between like New York and New Jersey to go to work and come home or whatever, or Connecticut. But if you're out of the state for more than 24 hours, you're supposed to register with the state when you re-enter. And so, if you fly in, there's a form you fill out at the airport. You have to submit it before you are allowed to leave the airport. And, they track you, they spot check you, make sure you're obeying the quarantine. The only way out of quarantine, out of the mandatory 2 weeks, is if you take a test 72 hours before you leave wherever you're leaving. And then you still have to go to quarantine when you get home. You still have to mandatory quarantine when you come back. But on the fourth day of your mandatory quarantine, you can take another test. And if that test comes back clear, which, by the way, takes 3 days, so you're still in quarantine for at least a week. But if that test comes back clear, then you can get out of quarantine early. And if you're caught violating quarantine, the first offense is a $2,000 fine. The second offense is a $5,000 fine. And the third offense is, and if you infect somebody or you have come in contact with someone or your test turns positive and you break the quarantine, you're subject to a $10,000 fine and possible jail time and possible other repercussions and whatever. So New York is going full Nazi.
FEMA camps, man.
Yeah.
Those FEMA camps. I mean, those harsh scenes from all these movies. They've been marketing this whole situation to us for so long, man.
Well, I've stopped calling it quarantine and started calling it house arrest because, you don't need an ankle bracelet anymore. They have your cell phone and your GPS in your car and, who knows what other kind of creepy tech that they have. You might be biotagged or something too.
Exactly right. I mean, hang on a second here. I just want to do some.
Well, I don't know if, I'm sure you do know, but all the entry points into the city now, the bridges, the tunnels, whatever, they all have facial recognition cameras at every entrance. They don't even bother with your license plate anymore. They know who you are when you enter and leave.
Remember when everybody was passing around all that shit saying that there were mind control towers?
Yeah, no, I
There's
know. Nope,
5G
they're
mind
facial recognition cameras.
Yeah, and they're gigapixel cameras. So, like, if ladies and gentlemen, if you've never gone onto the Gigapixel website to check out some of the cameras, some of the shots, it's like you could take a picture of a stadium full of people, and the people would be microscopic, but you could take your mouse and zoom in on just one person, and you'd be able to see them perfectly. So now they have something. I think there's something even bigger than a gigapixel camera. Do you know about that? Have you heard about it? I heard some about it a while back, but I never really looked at it.
I think it's just multi-gigapixel. Like they've, I don't know if they've gotten to the terapixel yet, but
Well, Epic Journeyman was working on that drone program that they used to have this thing where they'd fly around taking pictures, and he was working on that. So it's kind of the same thing. I mean, it's as far as being tracked and traced. I mean, it's at this point. See, the thing is, and it doesn't even matter if you don't have your ID tag on you because everybody else has theirs. So if there's a presence that in there that doesn't have it, it's just as noticeable as if you know what I mean. So you could be detected just for basically not even having your phone.
well, the other thing too is over the Thanksgiving weekend, which we just went through, they actually set up checkpoints at the bridges and the tunnels, and anybody who wasn't from New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut did not get into the city. They just, well, I mean, I'm sure some people did, but you had to state your business, how long you're going to be there, where you're coming from. So, if you were thinking of driving in from Ohio and visiting your family in New York, you were out of luck. They wouldn't let you in. Well, they'd let you in, but you have to quarantine. You have to be into house arrest.
Well, I don't know what's happening here behind me. Something's happening. I have to do something. Oh, there we go. Something
Hey.
happened. Yeah, my scene changed here. My backdrop changed, but I didn't know what was.
Oh.
I saw a
Now
big,
now we have the cockpit going.
yeah, I had a big white spot there, and I couldn't see what it was. And now I got so many windows open. So we're gonna be talking about something we touched on it a little bit earlier, which was when Rio and I were talking, which was we were kind of remembering back to the DC sniper back in 2000. When did it happen? Was that in 2001 or 2? I can't remember, or something like that.
Somewhere around there.
I don't remember when it was, but I just remember how these guys, these two dudes, basically, and at the time nobody knew what it was, and then they terrorized the tri-state area, didn't they? I mean, everybody was scared when because they were pot shotting people at Home Depot and all this other shit. You remember that? It was
Well, there was the one I remember was the DC sniper. So it was Maryland and Delaware and Washington. They were all scared down there for a while too.
yeah, that's what I was meaning when I said the tri-state area. Just that whole sort of, not.
See,
I get,
when you say tri-state to me, I think New York, New Jersey, Connecticut.
okay, all right, yeah, touche. I meant I meant the DC area, but yeah, man. So I mean, just one person could cause all this, and so we're moving into a period where there's these extremists running around, and so we started. Rio and I were just thinking about this right here, just thinking how just one lone wolfer causes issues, man. You know what I mean? So just one person can jam up everything.
Yeah, and if he's good and doesn't get caught, and pops up at random, it'd I mean, it would halt the whole city.
Yes, and this is exactly I'm bringing this up because something like this may be the thing when Joe Biden takes office, if he does, if he's the winner. At this point, I'm not going to commit. I don't know what's going to happen. But if he comes in and something like this happens again, and then he finds out that this guy's got a MAGA hat in the trunk of his car, it's going to be game on for white Christian conservative militias.
Oh yeah, well, the guy will have a white MAGA hat in the trunk of his car anyway, because whether it's his or not, it'll magically be there when he gets arrested.
That's what I'm saying. That is exactly what I'm saying. So hey, let's wander down this road for a few minutes and see if I'm gonna get hammered or not, and see what we're gonna have here. So before that, though, I want to do this. My name's Jimmy. It's Into the Microcosm here with Rockin' Rio, and we're taking a look back at the DC Sniper.
Once upon a time, I was of the mind to lay your burden down and leave you where you stood. And you believed I could. You'd seen it done before. I could read your thoughts and tell you what you saw and never say a word. But now that is gone, over with and done, never to return. And I can tell you why people die alone. I can tell you I'm a shadow on the staring at the lost, looking for the cause, and never really sure. Nothing but a hole to live without a soul, and nothing to be learned.
For some reason, man, I cannot find. For some reason, I cannot find that window for that video, so I got to go back and dig it up. Hang on. Stand by. Stand by.
The scars are souvenirs you never lose. The past is never far. And did you lose yourself somewhere out there? Did you get to be a star?
look up at night, it looks like you're already gone. Yeah, when you started your dreaming this morning, oh, you kicked me out my very own bed. Started your dreaming this morning. Well, you kicked me out my very own bed. Yeah, and when you did it, you called me another man's name instead.
Montgomery County is a small, wealthy suburb 15 miles north of Washington, D.C. Until 8 weeks ago, it had an annual homicide rate of 15 to 20 murders a year. But this October, everything changed.
A beautiful evening, very well lit, crowded parking lot. Anytime after 5 o'clock, people are coming to buy their groceries post-work, and it was just sort of a normal day. One of the cashiers there, she'd been standing doing her job, and a bullet had come close by her head.
40 minutes later that Wednesday evening, there was another shooting. A man walking across a busy supermarket car park was shot in the back and killed. Police were unnerved by the random murder and the skill of the executioner.
I didn't delve into a lot of detail, but it did seem strange that we didn't have a lot of evidence. So we didn't really anticipate the Thursday morning.
At 7:41, I got a page that said a man had been killed on a lawnmower. The lawnmower had exploded, was how it actually came across the page. I thought that was very unusual.
James Buchanan, a gardener, was shot in the back and killed whilst mowing a customer's lawn.
But the pages were coming through fairly quickly. So I get a page, there's been a shooting at the mobile station.
Then, 31 minutes later, Prem Kumar Walekar, a taxi driver, was killed by a single gunshot to the chest.
Maybe it's a terrorist. For real, I mean, no, they haven't ruled it in or out. I mean, it could be the new wave of terrorism. What better way to terrorize a neighborhood than to start killing people at random in different places, all within a given, area?
25 minutes later, outside a post office, Sarah Ramos was sitting reading on a bench. She was killed by a bullet to the head.
It was like it was a ghost, moving methodically through the county, shooting at people indiscriminately. And we couldn't proactively get in front of what he was doing. It's like we're always moving behind.
He lives right in this area somewhere. He's too familiar with it. He lives right around here.
I don't know if he's on foot at this point or what, but he's really sick.
So Rhea, I mean, this is like, this seems like it was done almost like, I don't know, but the point is that this seems so lightweight compared to, when something happens now. I mean, just the way people are acting. I mean, it's like, if something like this were to happen now, don't you think there'd be like tanks on the streets and a dudes dressed in black kicking doors in or whatever?
Oh, it would be all over the news like wildfire, like in minutes, and they'd be warning the whole country to lock down instead of just the city that it's happening in.
I know, and look at it. She's just casually talking about it out in front of the tool shed or whatever store. Oh yeah, he must be from around here. It's like at this point only a couple of people, have fallen victim to this terror attack. I mean, that's really what this was. And I mean, it's just one person, and the amount of terror that it caused just the one person. I mean, if it was done today, this would escalate across the nation, like you're saying. It would catch fire, and it would cause.
Oh yeah, I mean, it would be countrywide in probably 3 minutes. Thanks to the social media outlets. I mean, we didn't have that stuff 20 years ago. So until you got home and watched the news, you didn't know what was going on.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I already have heard things here that I didn't even know. Like I didn't even remember about the gardener guy. But it's like they all of a sudden started putting stuff together, after a period of time. How long did it take? Do you remember how long it took before they realized it was actually something to worry about, rather than just some, thing that was going to stop? I mean, because, people are paranoid to even drive down the highway because there was, overpasses and all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it freaked a lot of people out. It's one thing. Yeah, it doesn't seem as bad when it's an orchestrated thing, right? I mean, it's like when, I hate to say it, but even when they had the church shootings or the shootings at the concert or whatever, and, real or not, but, it was an isolated event. It was one location, this guy was out like just popping up randomly. There was no target. It was just completely random. And that's, I think, what really freaked people out the most.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So if this doesn't start moving faster in a minute or two, I'm going to go find if I can find us another package that's shorter that might be moving a little faster. This thing may be building up evidence for some case. Let me see. Because it's moving kind of slow like Uncle Joe. You know what I mean? Here we go.
Evil.
For a lot of people, it just kind of said everyone's at risk. From a historical context, generally serial killers go at a much different pace.
Chief Moose and I looked at each other. We looked at each other such as, God, please don't let it be another one.
An hour and 20 minutes later, another shooting. Lori Ann Lewis Rivera, a child carer, was shot in the back and killed whilst vacuuming out her people carrier. Committed Montgomery County Police Chief Charles Moose had headed some major cases in his time, but he had never handled anything of this magnitude before.
Nothing like this has ever happened in Montgomery County. This is a very safe community. Our homicide rate just increased by 25% in one day.
Captain Nancy Demme had been in her job working alongside Chief Moose for only 3 weeks when the killing started.
You don't know any more except for that there are various genders, races, ages that are of individuals that have been victims of shootings. That's what we have right now. But all anybody could do at that time was confirm that we had a victim, confirm that they were shot, confirm that we had witnesses to the victims falling. But that doesn't help the public. That doesn't even help the police.
Chief Moose put all 1,100 Montgomery County police officers on high alert.
It just seemed as though the shootings were going to never stop. It wasn't clear, where and when the next strike would be.
See, that's the tension builder. Especially now, it's starting to pick up speed now, right? So now they really, look at these people too. Look at these officers, like the woman who's in charge. And I'm not saying anything about her, but I'm just saying it, man. If it was today, everybody would have like bulletproof vests on. They'd be strapped with like 45 automatics, and then you black, M16s over their shoulders or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the SWAT team would be standing on the corner.
Yeah, man. So these guys seems like I'm watching them. These officers here looks like I'm watching a movie from the 70s or something. The kind of cops that I'm seeing. These look like old-fashioned cops. This was just 20 years ago, man.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Everyone was at risk. These murders had something to do with everyone because they were just people just doing ordinary things, and they lost their life because of it.
Doug Duncan, the mayor of Montgomery County and Moose's boss, was identified as being a potential target for the sniper. He was assigned armed bodyguards as protection.
You don't know what the history of the person is. You don't know who's doing it. You don't know are they living in your community? Did they grow up in your community? We didn't know. And that's why there was such fear. We held our breath, hoping someone else wouldn't be shot. And you sort of wait minute by minute, half hour by half hour, hour by hour.
If he can elude for about 400, 500 cops at a time, he's only one person or two people. That's kind of scary.
If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, then it's your time. I think he's planned it. This area, this location, and whoever walks through.
That night, levels of fear in the community rocketed when the sniper moved unexpectedly away from Montgomery County and into the American capital. The sniper's sixth victim, 72-year-old Pascal Charlot, was shot and killed as he crossed a busy Washington, D.C. street.
I've seen gunshot wounds, regarding hunting situations, and it looked very similar. I've also seen gunshot wounds. I just knew it looked different. I'm not a doctor, so I couldn't really tell if he was going to make it or not. But from what I saw, it was pretty devastating. This individual is still out there. We don't know where this person is. Just as a regular citizen, as a police officer, as anybody who lives in this country, it's devastating to think that this can happen.
Chief Moose, he goes, you might as well get ready. This is going to be a long couple days. And when we left that night, I remember he said, get some sleep, get it quick, because I don't know how much more you're going to get.
As the Thursday came to a close, Chief Moose and his force had been left to chase a trail of death with few substantive clues. Police thought the sniper was using a high-powered rifle, but the only evidence they had was bullet fragments retrieved from the victims' bodies. On Friday morning, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms, the ATF, confirmed that all the victims had been killed by the same gun.
The round being used, the type of ammunition, was in the .22 caliber family, meaning the head of the bullet, the projectile that leaves the bullet, was the diameter of a .22 caliber rifle. It is a pretty damaging round, high velocity, 3,000 feet per second. So again, you won't even know you're already hit before you hear the sound.
And this is the 223. It's a significantly larger, just to give you an idea. And with the 9mm on your left, the 40 caliber in the center, and the 223 round on the right. And almost counterintuitively, the police use these two rounds, which are actually much heavier in terms of the projectile than the 223. The big difference is the speed at which these rounds travel. These rounds are down around 1,500 feet per second, where this round can be anywhere between 3,100 and 3,500 feet per second. The round is very devastating in terms of its speed, its impact, the damage it does. The best comparison I can do is
fun-loving criminals. Stray bullet. Rio, are you there? Are you
Yep.
Are you terrorized at this point? I mean, I'm terrorized at this point by it because I never know. I could just be going down to Home Depot to pick up a 50-pound sack of manure. Next thing I know, I'm laying on the ground staring up at the sky like what's his nuts in Colors? Robert Duvall in Colors, that moment in Colors. That is one of the most intense moments on film that's ever been captured, in my opinion. The moment where Robert Duvall takes a stray bullet.
Man, I haven't seen that movie in so long, but now that you brought it up, yeah, I definitely remember that scene.
Yeah, it's intense. You want me to play it?
Sure, why not?
Let's see if I can get away with it. Here, why don't you jump? Here, let me toss you the captain's cap and the keys to the boat, and let me jump over here and grab a couple things real quick. There's a whole bunch of people over in the chat. Droney's over there.
Oh, yeah, I see it's hopping. I've been in there chatting as well, too.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, so jump in there with everybody. Slappy McChilly's over there. Robin's over there.
Zoe's around.
Yeah, man. Go ahead. I'll be right back.
Pepe's here. Louis Ta. I haven't seen Louis in a long time. Let's see who else is here. Well, Mountain Devil went to go to sleep, went to bed. And Lolly was here. And AJ. So we got a lot of people. It's quite nice. I don't know. I get caught up reading. Oh, Bella just popped in too. Yeah, this is pretty interesting, and the scary part is that this could trigger back up again at any given moment in time in the near future, especially with the the election tension and everything else. It's we think about this as an antique event from 20 years ago, and it hasn't happened in forever, but we have had plenty of shootings since, and now they're even more sensationalized.
Yeah. Now it's not, but even then, I mean, just saying what it's like now is nothing like what this, they didn't talk, I mean, they didn't want to talk about this, and they don't ever talk about it again, because this is the last thing they want to have happen, man. This here is the worst of all possible scenarios for anybody. Just because it reminds me of that movie. Remember that movie, The Nerd, where Steve Martin's working at a gas station, and there's some dude across the street, a sniper, and he's shooting at him, and the oil cans, he's missing, and he's shooting the holes through the oil cans, and the oil cans are spurting oil.
Yep.
And Steve Martin's like, there's something wrong with these oil cans, And it's like, he doesn't realize that people are taking a shot at him. Man, I'm going to tell you what, man, this scene is super intense, man. Let me ask the chat room do you guys want to see this? Do you guys want to see this Robert Duvall scene from Colors? Because it's intense, man. I mean, it's going to have an effect on you.
I would say just roll it, because that's what we do here.
Well, and also then let me cue. Okay, you guys want to see it? All right. And let me also get a tab open and cue up the nerd scene. Let me get this going here, Rio. Hang on. Let me get the nerd scene.
Yeah, Robin. I know Texas did that. They actually were stopping people from Louisiana for a while. Back in, when everything was crazy in April or May or whatever. But New York just did it for Thanksgiving weekend. They put out checkpoints at all the bridges and tunnels so that you could not get into the city. They haven't started doing all the state crossings, but they made it very evident that they were going to be doing that.
Yeah, I meant the jerk, not the nerd.
Yes, the jerk.
I don't know. I was calling it the nerd, but it was the jerk. Hang on a second. God damn, this thing looks so old-fashioned, it's not even funny. I haven't seen this thing since it came out. I'm not a big... I mean, I didn't dig the silliness of Steve Martin. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't a big... I laughed at Steve Martin a few times in my life, but I wasn't a big Steve Martin guy or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, all those guys, I always liked them better on Saturday Night Live than I did after they got famous and went and did the movies and stuff. Like, Steve Martin was better on Saturday Night Live than he was once he was a big hit.
Yeah. All right. So here... Hang on a second. I'm going to get this Robert Duvall... I don't think I'm going to get in trouble for Robert Duvall, but I think if I start playing that other one, I may. Hang on. There it is. All right. The dude should have won an Academy Award for this. And Sean Penn, he did a really great job on this film also. Did he direct this? I forget. Is this one of the 3 he directed? And then he brought in Dennis Hopper?
Yeah, it might have been.
I think he might have directed this. Now, look at this. Here we go. 2 minutes. This is harsh. Here we go. The harshness.
It's okay. It's just, I can't feel my legs. Okay, it's okay. Just want to lay here for a minute. Just call my wife. Okay, somebody get an ambulance! There's somebody call my wife and tell her to come get me. Get my wife. Okay, I'm gonna rest my head a minute. I gotta catch my breath. I'm gonna catch my... Okay. Catch my breath. Catch my breath. Catch my breath. Okay. I'm just rest. I'll be ready to roll in a minute. Breathe. Catch my breath. Where's my wife?
Hey, Harry, look at this. What's the matter with these cans? Die, milk face! These cans are defective. They're springing leaks. Come over here, look at this.
Listen, you better run for cover. You're gonna spring a leak.
Huh?
We don't have defective cans. We have a defective person out there.
He hates these cans. Stay away from the cans! Die, gas pumper! I gotta get away from those cans! There's cans in there too! Run, run! More cans! Die, you bastard!
He doesn't want to put holes in the cans. He wants to put holes in you.
What?
Yeah, heads up, we've detected copyrighted material in your stream. So,
Uh-oh, the YouTube police are watching.
The Jerk. They don't like it. They don't like The Jerk? Well, I'll tell you what. That just inspired me. Go ahead, Rio.
Yeah, well, I'm. What are you inspired by now? What's the next step after The Jerk?
Well, I'm inspired by the fact that The Jerk caused problems, and you know what? As usual, that sparked me to think of a piece of music. So now we're talking about that. So let's do this.
You have seen it performed right here on Hollywood A Go-Go. Let me give you a few simple basic facts. All you have to do is take the bump, bump, bump beat. Let's see, with little then you can go up over your head if you want, like this. The originators of The Jerk, Hollywood A Go-Go presents The Larks. What's that you're doing? Girl, what's that you're doing? You got to show me the steps to it. Somehow I'm gonna learn how to do it. Jerk, hey, jerk, girl, come on, let's work. Hey, jerk.
All right, it appears we have cleared the hurdles. Hang on a second. We're still doing the jerk. All right, hang on. I can get rid of the jerk. We appear to be okay now. Back to green. Over here.
We have dodged the police.
We
Dun,
dodged.
dun, dun.
Yeah, we dodged the bullet. But I think I just dumped that other window here. Have some golden energies to revitalize yourselves. Oh yeah. All right, so do you guys want to continue with the DC sniper? Because it's harsh. And after I saw that whole Robert Duvall, I started feeling bad, man. Like I shouldn't be doing this video. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. What do you think, Rio? You want to keep going? You guys want to keep going with the material?
Oh yeah, why not? I mean, it's important to remember these events as much as we remember any of the other ones. So, this is something that doesn't come up real often, and it's something that could be a very real scenario in the very near future. So, might be good to put it out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you guys, all right, looks like the chat's saying, yeah. I mean, if you guys didn't want to watch it, I'd still watch it anyway, just because I'm interested in it because I was reminded of it today for some reason. So maybe if for whatever reason, it reminded me of it, and now here we are. So let's all check it out.
The faster it goes, the broader the wake behind it. This bullet does essentially the same thing. It enters with a very small hole, but just expands rapidly and does massive internal damage.
Speculation was widespread on the sniper's identity. Was he Al-Qaeda, a rogue French Foreign Legion soldier, or a local resident determined to terrorize his neighborhood? Then the mysterious killer struck for the 7th time, 100 miles south of Montgomery County in Virginia. A woman was shot in a car park. The bullet passed through the open door of her vehicle before piercing her side. Miraculously, she survived. The killer had crossed state lines, and Chief Moose's sniper investigation was no longer solely a local matter. 50 FBI investigators joined the 100-strong Montgomery County detectives to work on the case. The sniper killings had become big news, and the mighty U.S. networks joined local stations outside Montgomery County Police Headquarters. The sniper killings had made the county infamous, and its police chief an unwilling celebrity. Working 19-hour days, Chief Moose and Mayor Duncan prepared for the week to come. They agreed that schools would remain open. Early on Monday morning, Moose spoke out to reassure the public.
Very clearly, we are at a level of anxiety with our morning rush hour getting ready to start. Want to again report a regular, normal opening of school. We expect a regular school day. I'm never going to win Dad of the Year. I didn't do that really well. I guess I got all wrapped up in some career thing or something, but between that and divorce, I'm not the Dad of the Year. But police officers, we're supposed to protect the children.
To the WTOP newsroom. There has been a shooting at a school this morning. A child has been shot in front of the Benjamin Tasker.
A 13-year-old boy had been hit by a single shot to the chest. He was critically injured. He was the sniper's second survivor.
Chief Moose was devastated. He was upset over a child being hurt in general, but then over the fact that his words may have been the catalyst that put that child in jeopardy or caused that situation to occur.
See, I don't remember this. I don't remember a child. I guess I mean, mostly what I remember is the tail end of it. For some reason, I don't remember all these. Were they showing all these incidental facts, all of it, or were they just randomly kind of talking about it on the news at this point? Because I don't remember all this stuff.
I remember hearing about it, and you got like, maybe updates, at the 6 o'clock news from day to day, but I don't think it was, like every minute, all day long kind of thing.
Yeah.
And interesting, I just looked up some of the facts on this, and it actually was 2 people that were the snipers.
Yeah, he had a kid with him.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think the kid, in the end, ended up getting out after something. I don't remember. There's something that happens after this, like years after. All right, here we go.
It was a very heavy, heavy feeling for him.
Someone is so mean-spirited that they shot a child. Now, all of our victims have been innocent, have been defenseless. But now we're stepping over the line because our children don't deserve this. So parents, please do your job tonight. Engage your children. Be there for them. We're going to need it. We're going to need you to support them. But stepping over the line, shooting a kid, I guess it's getting to be really, really personal now. So if there's any doubt out there what law enforcement is going to be engaged in.
Okay, you know what I just noticed? You know what I just noticed about this?
What's that?
This is before guys like this had a script, like they have a certain thing that they can say, and that's it. They don't just come out and talk off the cuff on the mic. You know what I mean? He seemed like he's talking straight off the top of his head. Like he's saying stuff right now. He's almost taking responsibility for what happened in a way. And legally, he'd probably be in trouble for saying some of this stuff.
Well, he just said, now this is personal. Like, he's taking it personal.
Yeah, man.
Nobody would say that anymore.
No. Okay, let's keep going. Here we go.
We're going to be doing. Then you can remove all doubt.
Now police felt the sniper was not only watching, but possibly reacting to their every word.
A child, defenseless, hunt down a child, shoot a child in the back. It just kind of, it's very insulting.
The whole community just shuddered to see a child shot. Just brought out even more anger, more outrage, and yet we couldn't express that because we didn't want to incite whoever was doing this to do even more, to shoot more children.
So, I guess this is the break here in the middle. Hunting the Washington sniper. Here comes the second part. Hang on a sec. I don't know it.
It was the longest week in Montgomery County Police Chief Moose's career. A sniper killer had shot 8 people, 6 fatally. The community was paralyzed with fear. All public outdoor events were canceled. The local football and baseball seasons were suspended, and all the schools in the area were keeping children locked inside. Heavily armed police and helicopters monitored the local schools. Then at the school where the boy was shot, Moose and his team got their first major break. Police uncovered a cryptic piece of evidence. However, they couldn't contain their find. The information was leaked to the hungry press.
It could be a critical clue in the sniper shootings. The gunman reportedly has left a message for police.
It's a tarot card, the death card. Written on it, "Dear policeman, I am God." Channel 9 reports the tarot card was found by police.
the media failed to report what else was written on the tarot card. It said, "Do not release to the press."
The chief was upset because we knew that said not to be released to the press. Were there going to be consequences for this by the shooter for having done what he said not to do? Was this in an effort to him to communicate to us? And had we violated that relationship that the shooter Meyer tried to start with us? So he was angry with the media for having put it in there and angry with law enforcement for having leaked it to the media.
I have not received any message that the citizens of Montgomery County want Channel 9 or the Washington Post or any other media outlet to solve this case. If they do, then let me know. We will go and do other police work, and we will turn this case over to the media.
It was just like everything that we wanted to try was put out for consumption. You know, you're kind of going, well, is it like, does the media want this to continue?
As head of the Sniper Task Force, Chief Moose was being pushed to the limit.
We're waiting to hear from you. Can you say if you've heard from the person you're communicating with?
Anything about the investigation, that kind of detail would be inappropriate.
The intense media interest in the case was becoming overwhelming.
Sir, the men and women involved in this...
If Chief Moose projects a sense to the public that this investigation is out of control, or that they have no real information about what's going on and who's behind it, then with a few more shootings, I think we get to a situation where the public will begin to panic.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think it's too much to say that you could reach a level of pandemonium out here and frustration that will be very hard to contain.
With no major leads, only setbacks in the investigation, there were calls for the FBI to take over Moose's case. President Bush agreed that federal support should be available for the sniper manhunt. He sent seasoned FBI investigator, Special Agent Gary Bald, to assist.
It was an interesting situation for me because I'd never met Chief Moose before, and I was very sensitive to the fact that he would think I was coming in to take the investigation over.
President Bush backed Chief Moose and confirmed he would continue to lead the sniper case. Special Agent Bald called up the Rapid Response Unit. They arrived with a blank check and within 24 hours. Hey, Rio. So, yeah, man. So, the panic is now starting to set in with the whole situation here. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Good. All right. So it looks like I got this mixed pretty good here. Let me just, let me get rid of all raw camel fat panic room mix.
Yeah, that had just a tad too much bass in that version.
Yeah, sounded good over here. Anyhow, so there you go. The panic is starting to set in. So see this, the panic that something like this causes in the population is literally this. I mean, the psychological ramifications nationwide started to set in, just like the Manson killings kind of thing. You know, where there could be a dirty hippie behind every corner with a butcher knife ready to cut your babies out. That's how they played it on the news, man. They scared the shit out of people, but you see how this here, they scared the shit out of people, but they kept it down to I mean, if they had this happen now, are you kidding? People would be
it would be insanity. People would lose their minds if something like this started going on now.
I bet you there'd be like those piles of guns that you see in Australia when they turn their guns in.
Yep.
Seriously, I mean, I'm telling you. And that was all over. Anyway, here we go. Here we go.
Set up a fully operational sniper command center.
Did you want to jump in there and say something? It sounded like you were...
No, I know what you're talking about with the situation in Australia.
Yeah. Here you go.
I don't think we here are going to give them up that easy.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why we're doing this right now, because something like this happens when Joe Biden's president, and
it's going to be a war.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I think. This is kind of a trigger point if things don't go the conservatives' way. I don't think they'll go on the streets and burn stuff, but if something like this happens and it gets blamed on them and they start taking away the guns, next thing you know, civil war is going to happen.
There is a unit in the FBI that is responsible for rapidly deploying and setting up a command post structure to support field operations. It's much easier to bring those resources from another part of the FBI that has it basically in a box, and they show up and set it up. It really comes together very quickly. There are a number of other resources that the FBI brings to bear in a situation like that, including behavioral scientists, which would help me in understanding the type of criminal that we're dealing with. You may be familiar with it through Silence of the Lambs. Scientists provide a profile of the people likely to be responsible for the killings. They'll base that on prior shooting incidents, prior serial killers.
In the newly established joint
Hey, were we still under, I mean, this happened after 9/11, right? So were we still under the that color scheme where we had that thing? It was the
terror tech traffic light kind of deal.
Yeah, the danger level.
The danger meter. Yeah, probably.
I think
it was it was like summer of 2002, September, October, I think was when it happened. So it wasn't. It's only a year after. I'm sure we still were under the.
Yeah, I'm gonna go dig one of those up. Here you go.
Operation Center. Over 400 local and federal police worked round the clock. The Sniper Reward Fund, set up on the first day, had reached $237,000. It doubled in one day after the child was shot. Police were swamped with calls to their hotline, over 2,000 a day. Despite the high number, there were few good leads. Tension mounted as the community waited helplessly for another killing.
A good distance away from that Sunoco station. They're keeping us back, but there's a FBI helicopter, untold FBI helicopter up above me, surveying the scene. We're told that one man is dead. He was at the pumps at the gas station, shot dead at the scene. No apparent sign of an assailant.
2 days after the boy was shot, the sniper claimed his 9th victim. 53-year-old Dean Myers was killed by a single shot to the chest. Following that murder, Chief Moose and the investigators detected a change in the sniper's pattern. The killer seemed to be selecting targets that were close to highways, offering quick escape routes. Two days later in Fredericksburg, Virginia, the killer made his most brazen move to date. With a police officer standing just 50 yards away, Kenneth Bridges was shot and killed. Eyewitnesses gave the police a promising new lead.
Right after the shooting in Fredericksburg, there comes two witnesses, actually, who see what's described as a white van, and they believe is somehow related to the shooting. Each said they saw a white van with a ladder rack on top.
It was Chief Moose's best lead to date. But motor vehicle records showed over 100,000 white vans registered in the Washington, D.C. area alone.
It had the unfortunate impact of having the media conclude that the people responsible for the shootings were operating those vehicles. And despite Chief Moose's repeated reminders, the media didn't want to take no for an answer on that. And so it constantly was played as these are the vehicles that were being used by the snipers. I think the impact of that was that when shooting scenes occurred after that, people looked up and the first white van they saw or the first box truck they saw consumed their attention.
So, man, this is a key point, too, because, you know, you see a lot of people now, they have these covert RVs that are set up in these white vans because the white van is so prevalent everywhere. The windowless white van just looks, I mean, it's ubiquitous, right, Rio? I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you think it's just the delivery truck or the laundry guys or, you know, whoever.
Yeah, man. So, you know, the thing is these things are just, these trucks are everywhere. So, I mean.
And they may not have seen other.
It has to do with what we were talking about last night, how 240 people could affect the whole country. By just masking the symptoms appear that anybody has those symptoms. You could scare enough people into the hospital to jam up this whole system because a bunch of people have the symptoms and they're hypochondriacs and they go running down there. And so it's the same thing with this, man. I mean, all of a sudden, it's a white van. There's white vans everywhere. There's white vans and people getting shot, and all of a sudden it turns into this giant fear-based pinch operation where everybody's up in it, man, and it's just, it gets wild, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. And you know, a lot of it was just people's imaginations too. I mean, obviously there was a real threat, but you know, not every white van was the terrorist.
Yeah, man. All right, let's get a little bit more down the road. Here we go.
Vehicles that were in the area.
A second weekend passed without a shooting. The press speculated that the sniper was a family man only able to kill during the week. Local people were terrified. Washington was a city under siege. Community leaders advised people to avoid wooded areas and use covered parking when shopping. In the covered car park of a DIY store,
see, they didn't mention the name of it because they didn't want anybody to stop going there. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back. Here you go.
a woman and her husband were loading packages into their car. Linda Franklin was then shot, the sniper's 11th victim. She died at the scene.
Anonymous complaint of a white Chevy Astro van occupied by a white male.
After that killing, the sniper went eerily quiet. 5 tense days passed without another shooting. The police were besieged with calls from the public. Most offered information, but there were also crank callers who claimed to be the sniper. After nearly a week of silence, the killer decided to contact the police.
Good morning. Don't say anything, just listen. Where are the people that are causing the killing in your area? Look on the terror card. It says, "Call me God. Do not release the press." We have called you 3 times before, trying to set up negotiations. We've got no response. People have died.
The police operator didn't realize the significance of the call.
Sir, any
Get your
reporting
people.
to that Montgomery County Police hotline. We're not investigating a crime. Would you like the number?
The killer hung up. Another opportunity to communicate was lost. On Saturday morning, Washington again buried its dead. Vietnam veteran Dean Myers was laid to rest. Saturday night approached. It seemed like it was going to be a third quiet weekend for Moose and his team. But then, breaking news.
A shooting in Ashland, Virginia. This breaking story, not known yet whether this is connected to the sniper investigation. There are also reports that police are looking for a white Econoline van with a ladder rack. WTOP.
All right, looks like this is the break here on this chunk. They're going to get into the last piece here. Let me... Okay, see, now it starts to get militarized in a minute. So how we doing over here in the chat skis? Looks like everybody's still here. Right on.
Oh, yeah, everybody's hanging, everybody's chatting.
Sweet. All right, well, do you want to continue, or did you have anything you wanted to add or something you want to throw in here?
No, I'm actually, it's kind of interesting. I haven't seen or heard this stuff in such a long time. I'm re-educating myself as well. So.
I know. I'm almost thinking I want to do a double feature with David Koresh and the Branch Davidian standoff. I don't know. Let's see. Here it comes, hunting the Washington sniper.
For the first time, the sniper had attacked on a weekend. In the small town of Ashland, Virginia, 80 miles south of Washington, D.C., the killer had shot his 12th victim.
Now that is military.
Yeah,
that's military right there.
They were getting back into the car. He was shot in the stomach. He's apparently going to make it. He's in stable but serious condition, still in surgery. They think it may have been from the woods.
Okay, 6-4, we'll do that.
Has a determination been made whether this is the sniper that's been in the Washington, D.C. metro area, or is it not?
No, there is no evidence right now to conclude that. Everyone is a potential witness that was here at the time, so we're going through and not putting blinders and interviewing as many people as possible.
So mad right now they're in panic mode, aren't they? Look at them. Because now, I mean, the other thing too is I think now some of this is starting to come back to me now. Wasn't there at some point it was rest stops? Like all this, they figured out it was rest stops, and they started so everybody who was at a rest stop was all paranoid, and people were scouring the earth. Isn't that something that came up? The rest stops.
Yeah, the rest stops came up, but it was gas stations first.
Huh.
That was. They actually had people who were some of the gas stations were actually putting curtains up around the island so that whoever was outside couldn't see inside so the people pumping their gas would feel a little safer that they couldn't be targeted.
Well, it's interesting. Now, see, if this was to happen today, they would be running one of those nice systems on the top of this. There'd be a nice layer over the top of this, so that in the future, every single keystroke, every single helicopter, every single radio transmission, every single use of gallon of gasoline, every single anything that had to do with this would have been tracked all through the computer system and logged, so that they could run this exact same thing a million times in the computer and come up with scenarios on ways to deal with it or put the fire out. But they didn't have that ability now with this. They didn't know. Back here, they were still relying on good old-fashioned police work and shit. I mean, they had computers, but it wasn't, it's 20 years ago. It's not like it is now. It was like AOL 56K modems back then, man.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't trace your cell phone or the GPS in your car because not everybody had that. Most people didn't have that.
That's right. So this was like a real test. You could literally take this and use it to see exactly how it happens, man. How they put their formulating their plans together. Because I mean, right now we're just like them. They don't know what's happening.
Thing on the white van that was stopped in Stafford County at about 11 tonight.
That was state police stopped that van, I believe, in Stafford County. I do not have any further information from that. The biggest thing we're waiting for right now is daylight.
What's the status on 95?
I definitely wouldn't want to be a technician driving around in a van. This is back then too. You just got off work. You just smoked an illegal bowl of illegal marijuana in some state where you get the death penalty for smoking weed, and all of a sudden you're driving your van home from work, and next thing you know, man, you're laying face down on the dirt.
The sniper expressed his contempt for Chief Moose and his investigators. Behind the Ponderosa, police found a letter pinned to a tree. Handwritten in a childish scrawl, the sniper again boasted, "I am God." He blamed 5 of the last shootings on police, the price paid for not responding to his phone calls.
It's saying that he's actually reached out several times and he's not been able to communicate with the police the way he'd hoped or the way he wanted, basically referring to the police as incompetent.
In the letter, he had demanded $10 million. He also told police he would contact them at 6 a.m. Sunday morning on a telephone number in Virginia. Unfortunately, the letter could not be opened until forensics were completed. By then, the sniper's deadline had passed.
The letter was opened after that time, so that opportunity was missed.
The person who left.
It almost sounds it's kind of reminding me of the police work that was done like during the OJ thing. Doesn't it? I mean, doesn't it kind of seem like the whole... It has this OJ feel to it. The police.
Well, that was right around. Well, no, OJ was a few years before that, but not that far back. What was OJ, 95, 96? So
yeah, it just has that feel to it. It doesn't have the technological and tactical feel to it that it would today. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Today,
I definitely agree.
Today, the dude'd be all squared away. He'd come out. He'd be one of those dudes with the big arms, just sitting there going, da 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 da, just staying straight on script, da 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 da. It's just completely different back then.
Well, the interesting part is, like you say, you're looking at the cops that are involved in this, and they're not like all, muscle-bound bodybuilders, former soldiers with the buzz cuts. They're more like ordinary people just trying to be cops.
Exactly. Because now most of the people that have been in the that have been up in there, man, they're mostly these ex-military people who know how to stay on, who know how to take and follow orders, and that's part of the code, man, of follow orders.
The message.
Anything else? Let's go back to Mr. Moose, the Moose Man. Here we go.
at the Ponderosa last night. You gave us a telephone number. We do want to talk to you. Call us at the number you provided.
Following the Saturday shooting, the killer again telephoned the police. The call is traced to a payphone in Virginia. The authorities staked out the area and surrounded a white van. The media reported it all live on national television. Mayor Doug Duncan waited to hear if Chief Moose had caught the killer.
Yeah. We got all that. We just haven't confirmed it. I mean, we were at headquarters until a few minutes ago. Then Doug went to see the chief. Said, and Moose has called a press conference for any minute now.
Police stormed the white van. There were 2 men inside. They were illegal immigrants with no connection to the sniper shootings.
He sees this. This is just going to really piss him off. This is really going to tell him that, number one, we messed up as the police. Number two, we didn't follow orders. We're not doing what we're supposed to do. And all these thoughts about what could be going through his head at this time if he's seeing what we're seeing, and we were pretty sure that he probably was, and how he would react.
At dawn, on Tuesday, October 22nd, after 18 days of shootings away from Montgomery County, the sniper came back. A local bus driver was preparing for his morning route when he was shot in the doorway of his vehicle.
We're just waiting to hear from the hospital what happened. So,
and he died? Okay.
Following 2 hours of surgery, Conrad Johnson, the killer's 13th victim, had died. The killer had returned to taunt Moose and his investigators on their home turf.
It was, in some respects, reassuring when that shooting took place back in the area that we were really saturating with investigative resources. So certainly not reassuring by any means from the standpoint of a loss of life, but that particular scene to me was somebody who was familiar with that territory. I spent a lot of time at that scene, and it's off the beaten path. It's not by major interstates, so that scene kind of talked to me more than other scenes did.
At the bus scene, police found another letter from the sniper. It mocked their inability to catch him. That same afternoon, rumors were spreading that the killer had told police he planned to target children again. The media tell Chief Moose they're going to run with this story. The chief had a tough decision to make. Keep the contents of the letter secure and obey the killer's instruction not to release to the press, or reveal its true threat to prevent a press-induced public hysteria.
Your children are not safe anywhere at any time.
I remember standing there with him, and that was the hardest thing I had to do. It was a devastating thing to have to do, and it left us feeling terrible.
Hey, sweetie. Did you hear what he said? At the end of the press conference, they read a statement, and the chief said that the guy said, P.S. Your children are not safe anymore.
That's a pretty intense thing to come out and say. Your children are not safe. I mean, they would never. Would they ever come out and say something like that now? Maybe they would. I mean, to build up the the fear, and to get people ready to come and turn in their guns, man.
Well, see, now the whole thing they're doing now is nobody is safe from the invisible enemy. So yeah, they're still playing the game. They're just using different words.
Sweet. Well, we've got about 20 minutes left of this So you guys ready to finish this up? Or you want to stop it? Or let me know if you want me to stop it. Just say something.
At any time.
We got to finish the story.
Yeah, I got the Waco story ready to roll too. I got Waco ready, man. It's in waiting. We'll see if the chat room's hanging, if everybody's still hanging strong. I may go double feature. You're not gonna have to be obligated, man. But I mean, what the hell else you gonna do? Stare at the wall?
Go to bed. I gotta get up in about.
Just keep them in the backyard. Don't let them ride their bikes or anything. And, I mean, we'll send them to school, but I'll take them to school. That's the kind of stuff that really pisses you off as a parent. I want to know that stuff when it happens. I don't want to be told about it 3 days later. And they still don't have a damn shred of information that he hasn't provided them. Not one witness.
So this dude, we're lucky here. Look at 30 more seconds. Here, let me see what I got over here while we're waiting. Do I got anything? No. I got this, but I can do this and then that. But by then, it'll be too late. It's too late, man.
Just counting down there.
I know. It's too late. Oh.
The hunt for the Washington sniper was now the biggest story in the world. For 3 weeks, the killer had evaded capture by Chief Moose's 1,000-strong sniper investigation force. The 1,400 journalists monitoring the case outnumbered the police, and their intense scrutiny was obstructing the investigation.
Unfortunately, there have been developments in the case that we need to really focus on right now, and we are not going to be holding a press conference. If there are developments that occur in the next few hours or overnight that we can call you together again for and give you the information or ask for your assistance, we will. But thank you.
You talked about this. Why were they intentionally going to have a press conference before?
She just if this guy's watching the news, she just egged him on to do something else because get her out in the front of the press again about it. Like, why would you say that to the guy, man? They know he's watching it.
Yeah, to antagonize. Maybe they're hoping that they'll draw him out or make a mistake.
They're just
he gets agitated.
No, they're stupid as far as public relations goes. Because what she should have said was, listen, we'll come back, scheduled time at such and such a time, so that it's no big deal when we come back. Just because we come back doesn't mean something happened. She's saying now, telling the whole 1,400 people from around the world, media, we're only coming back after this dude kills somebody else. So I'll eat my words if he doesn't kill somebody else right after this.
But she said, unfortunately, we've had a development in the case, so I'm not quite sure what that means.
Who knows? He could have called, he could have not called. They got a tip. Nobody knows.
There's been something that's happened just now. Something took them off. They were supposed to have this briefing. Now they say, we've got developments that have caused us to go down different avenues with the investigation.
Hey, Don, Dennis here. Listen, who do you know who's been talking about this? I got
At last, there was a major breakthrough. In communications, the killer bragged he was responsible for a September shooting in Alabama. It was his first mistake. A fingerprint was taken from the scene and put through the federal database. It gave police a name.
We identified a person that we felt may have played a role in that crime in Alabama. That led us out to Tacoma, Washington. And it led us to some interviews there that prompted a search of a residence.
In a garden, 3,000 miles.
Man, I remember that, dude. I think I was glued, at this point, I was glued to like CNN or something watching this, man. Because the whole thing was unfolding, it's like, you know, I remember on CNN what it was like, you know, and every time there'd be a clue or whatever. And I remember this whole thing where this was like one of the first times that this kind of thing happened. This is like before the Boston bomber and all that kind of shit. They literally thought he was somewhere and they just went in there. You remember this?
Yeah, they just went in and took out.
All right, here, let's check it out.
In Montgomery County, the ATF removed a bullet-ridden tree stump. The police now had their strongest lead to date. Unfortunately, the media was jeopardizing Moose's investigation, broadcasting live images of the search.
Metal detector to try to search for small metal objects. Quite obviously could be either brass shell casings or lead slugs, which police could then try to match with the brass and the lead that they've got from back here from the DC area sniper shootings and killings.
The entire situation that happened in Tacoma, Washington, with a tree stump was supposed to be something as simple as just going quietly to recover a tree stump. And it turned into what I would term a media circus. And if the sniper had been watching television that night, it could have been gone.
My understanding is this house is someplace that this guy may have lived in the past. That's my understanding. They think he may have lived there.
Yeah. Somehow they were getting the information before we were getting the information. It was unfolding in Washington. They were doing their own investigative reporting. It was coming out before we even had it.
We're getting a license plate on a vehicle. And are you hearing about a New Jersey vehicle? Yeah.
Without waiting for police confirmation, the press named the sniper suspects.
Mike and Jane, this is fast break.
Wow, see, they got this is incredible. So they
would never do that now.
And they were all on their cell phones, you know, calling their buddies, hey man, blah 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 blah. You know, they're all that was pretty good footage there, man. I don't think this is on too many documentaries. Here's the name of this. It's called Hunting the Washington Sniper. Rare 2002 documentary. He's only been seen 459 times. The guy's channel is Real Crazy Truth. He's got 2.5 thousand subscribers. I'm going to thumb him up over there. And thanks, dude, for putting this up there and letting people check it out without any bullshit. Appreciate it. All right, man, you want to keep going?
Yeah.
Here we go.
But we can put up on the screen tonight the names of the two men, not one, but two men they want as, quote, persons of interest in the sniper.
Yeah, John Allen Williams, Lee Malvo.
John Allen Williams is the stepfather of Lee Malvo.
They are both black males, one about 40 years of age, the other one said to be about 20 years of age.
In addition, there's now a firm vehicle alert. No box truck, no Chevy Astro, no white vehicle at all. Instead, a dark 1990 Chevrolet Caprice car.
NDA 21Z, Nancy David Alpha 21Z. Police are asking anybody who sees that vehicle to call 911 immediately. Vic, Denise?
Authorities want to make sure that they've got all of their I's dotted and their T's crossed before they step in front of that podium because they are very well aware that their audience is not just the public, but also the person or persons believed to be responsible for the string of killings that have left 10 people dead and 3 others wounded dating back to October 2nd.
Police confirmation of the names came 1 hour after the media had released them.
A federal arrest warrant has been issued for John Allen Muhammad, also known as John Allen Williams. He should be considered armed and dangerous, and he may be in the company of a juvenile.
The police released an image of one of the men they were looking for.
I hope to God this is it, though, you know. I hope to God this is it. Too many people done died. Too many kids are scared, you know. My little girl, last night when she prayed, she thanked God.
Looks like
thanked her
Obama.
mother.
What is it?
I said that mugshot of him looks like Obama.
He kind of did, huh? Hold on, you want me to go back?
Yeah, go back a couple seconds.
Hang on a second. I think it's right in here. Hang on. There he is, man. Here, I'll make it giant. We can look at it, really examine it, give it the once over.
Yeah, when they had the close up, the eye shot one, that really looked.
Check this.
You'll see.
Check this out. Oh. Let me see if I can spot it. Hold on. Coming up on. No. Well, it was an interesting point, and I don't know what's gonna happen. Well, now here we go.
Oh, you just passed it. Well, 7 seconds ago.
Police released an image of one of the men they were looking for.
I hope.
Right there, that's the one.
Yeah, it's just I can't. There we go. You didn't build that,
right? Does that not look like Obama?
This is it, though.
It did.
I hope.
And did you know there's a problem? Did you know there's a problem with facial recognition, that it's not that good on people of color?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing.
It's
even the
the
AI thinks they all look the same.
And yeah, it has
been a stereotype for years.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying,
funny.
the China facial recognition, as good as it is, they have a lot of problems with it.
That's it. Too many people done died. Too many kids are scared. My little girl, last night when she prayed, she thanked God and thanked her mother and father, and she said, "Lord, please get the sniper."
Well, there's still a lot to cover in this story. I mean, there's a lot going on. God only knows what's going to happen next. In the end game, you can't predict it. That's what's so wild about this.
For 22 days, people were fixated on a white van. Now the search was on for a dark Chevrolet Caprice car. The manhunt began.
But every now and then you just need a little bit of luck. And maybe our luck was that they weren't watching television that night.
As a result of what we found in Tacoma, Washington, and of identifying those two people by name, we did some record checks in our databases and found that we could put them in the Montgomery County area during the time that the shootings occurred. There was a phone call from a civilian truck driver who was at a rest stop near Frederick, Maryland, who had heard the license tag. The Maryland State Police then took up that responsibility, and they blocked off the entrance and the exit. I immediately got in my car and headed towards Frederick, and I actually pulled out on the interstate directly behind the hostage rescue team that was en route to that location. I selected the FBI's hostage rescue team, which is an elite team that is rarely used, to be a team that would make the assault. I authorized them to go forward and implement the plan. traveled forward to deploy the first team. Then the second team.
100 officers surrounded the car. They smashed out the windows and took the sleeping suspects at gunpoint.
The subjects were removed from the vehicle and secured. They were handcuffed and separated and cared for.
Finally, after 22 days of murder and mayhem, Chief Moose and his investigators had the prime sniper suspects in custody. 41-year-old John Muhammad and 17-year-old Lee.
I'm stopping that there for you, bro. Look at this. Man.
Yep, that dude even smiles like Obama.
I know, it's like the Obama character.
And look at the ears.
I know, look at that kid, man. I don't know, man. There's something fishy about that.
That's man's shell before the surgery.
Well, I don't know about. I'm just saying this relationship here, it doesn't look like a father-son relationship, like a mentor or whatever. This looks like it may be something a little fishy. I don't know whatever came about this case. I don't know what happened with that. I don't know if whatever turned out about what this kid, where I forget his name. Here, let's keep.
Yeah, well, the kid was, I think, put into juvenile jail.
Yeah,
and
let's see.
The adult was executed shortly after.
Are not related. They met when Muhammad briefly dated Malvo's mother. Muhammad, a Gulf War veteran, received no sniper training, but earned the Army's expert marksmanship badge. The sniper's car had been modified to allow them to shoot unseen from within. After capture, the press reported the killer's car had been stopped several times during the investigation.
There have been questions asked about a Chevy Caprice that was seen in the area of the Washington, D.C. shooting, and why we didn't put out information about that vehicle. And I think the best reason for that is that we didn't have multiple witnesses seeing that vehicle in the area, and it wasn't a suspicious vehicle in that area, at least not to the point that we had a good enough description that we could get it out to the public and narrow down the field of vehicles that we were looking for. And as a matter of fact, the witness had the color wrong on it as well. In retrospect, knowing what we know now, it might have been helpful to put out that there was a Chevy Caprice in the area.
After 13 shootings, the media waited for Chief Moose to confirm that the sniper was off the streets.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand by.
That's some Southside soul from the John Wright trio right there, Sonny. How you like it?
Oh yeah, smooth.
Hell yeah. You know what I was just thinking about too, I forgot about? Was the LA bank robbery that they made the movie Heat about.
Oh yeah, that was a while back too, right? That was that was even farther back then. That was like late 90s, wasn't it?
And they had those, everybody was in they were all in they had like, Kevlar and all this shit, machine guns and all this, and they're just walking down the street going they was taking shit out, man. I was living down there too when that happened. So yeah, it was in the 90s, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, man, that movie Heat, that was a pretty good movie. Pretty good representation, dramatic representation of it. So now we're over here in the coffee house backdrop.
Yeah, I kind of dig the coffee house.
I know, the coffee house is cool, right?
And it's that fresh steaming cup on the table right in the front there.
I know. You ready for it, aren't you?
I am.
I'm ready for a fresh steaming cup myself. You want me to play a little bit of music we won't get busted for, and then you got time? You want to hang out for a bit on some of this David Koresh?
I think it's getting near the bedtime.
You're getting near your end.
Yeah, well, it's it's 11:40 here in the East Coast, and I do have the alarm set for 4 a.m. So.
Well, I'll tell you what. You could always switch over to this call onto your phone and just fall asleep with the gentle sounds of David Koresh. Anyway, here we go. Are you gonna take off?
Yeah, I'll stick for a couple songs.
Yes, stick around for a minute, man. I'll be right back. I gotta go grab some coffee.
And guess it's time I hit the road. It's not important, and I can find myself another time. The proof is in the smoke. It started calling when conversation's not a friend of mine. Told the fellas I'm a road just for a talk and clear the surface off the top of my head. Won't be long, but I'm not sure. Is it better if I close my eyes? I guess it's time I hit the road. The siren forming. I lose my grip and try to stabilize. The fever stole the show like paranoia. And like a fool I tried to improvise. First offense is taking hold and closing doors. Filling space and what's the last in my head.
Man, that was perfect timing. I couldn't have planned that better myself, boy.
Uh-huh.
And I had to wash out my coffee glass and heat it up and, come back out. Now I got a steaming hot cup of positive attitude like on there. Now I got my own. So I don't have
I'm
to...
actually sipping a little Grey Goose on the rocks over here. So.
Oh, well, there you go. All right, well...
With a twist of lime, of course.
Sweet. Do you want to stick around for a bit here? I'm going to open up this... Let's open up this can of worms. Because it's a good one. You know why I'm bringing it up is because I saw this thing earlier today. Turns out that David Koresh apparently went over to Israel at some point before he did all this. And he had this, like, super intense experience. And when he came back, he had this thing where people, like, were affected by him and stuff. Like, literally, the thing I saw, I'm not going to say this happened. I'm just reporting what I saw, what I read, which was interesting to me, just even as a fictional concept. That he went there, he went up on some mountain, had some experience, and he was shown the revelations of the future. And when he came back, he had this when he came back, when he talked to people and shit, he had this thing that he didn't have before. Like he was literally spiritually affected by something. And so that's why, even though everything was going on there and all that, no one left. Like, the people just stayed. They had chances to leave, but they didn't.
That's kind of interesting. Like, he had some kind of power over them.
Well, like he had
supernatural power over them.
Yeah, because he had literally a religious experience where he was, supposedly talking to Jesus when he was in Israel. Even if it's fictional, I'm just saying from a fictional standpoint, and even if it was psychotic or schizophrenic, that's what he told people. I'm just saying, it's interesting that, don't everybody stop there. It's like I never thought of it before today. To me, David Koresh didn't exist until this happened. In other words, I never heard about what he did before this. I don't know what he was up to. I've never looked at it. But I'll tell you this, when I looked at Jim Jones, all of a sudden I find out he's all over South America working for the company.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden I'm wondering where did David Koresh come from? So I'm going to take a look at it again, but I'm going to see if I can dig out some clues. That's why this one was on my mind and for a double feature tonight, because I was going to do this anyway, so I might as well do it with you guys if you guys want to hang and watch it. And I know you can't stay because you got to go, but if you guys want to hang out, I will run this whole thing. It's 1 hour and 1 minute and 49 seconds. But you don't have to stay the whole time, but stay for like 10 minutes, just to get into it.
All right, yeah, I'll stay. I'll stick around.
All right.
I'll give you to midnight.
All right, here you go.
Are at war with an enemy we can't see. A brutal conspiracy of assassination, kidnappings, bombings, hijackings, and mass murder. There's a battle raging, fueled by desperation, hatred, and fear.
Now the principal language spoken here is gunfire.
It is a world war, led by holy men, madmen, and millions of disciples willing to die for their cause. Their strategy is worldwide terrorism.
Hold up. Grab your army suits, your fat black boots. Military gear, ain't go out like troops. Grab your army suits and your fat black boots. Military gear, ain't go out like troops. Grab your army suits and your fat black boots. Military gear, ain't go out like troops. Grab your army suits and your fat black boots. Military gear, ain't go out like troops.
All rhymes is mad raw, nigga, metaphors pour from my jaws, live exhaust, got high with fly sounds, pound the floors is war. Before you rap out, you whack, come back, I back action. Block 4/5 to be exact like that. Strike till you're not one shot. A bang slang to your brain, get you open on top. Well, so what? Nigga, take that and then some. Sins done when it comes to trap and fat drums. I lyrical tunes that boom, crush, consume brains, leaving your veins, putting puncture wounds, aiming and pop, blazing hot clock, raising your knock, cock the kill shot, spill it to bumper clock. You want test, nigga, best be on MSG, a black fast and shatter that ass. It's like plexiglass food, mass through chop with dime, homicide, collide with energized thoughts from dark side of part die. Split your flesh from your chest, my complex style, be wild, enough tough like rough sex or roughness. I dedicate this track to the suspect. The real live niggas ain't afraid to bust
Seven soldiers, militant darkness, with heavenly niggas in heaven, strapped with the holy Mac 11s, returning devils and poisonous reverends, razor blade stash inside the Bible, stalk through the church like a madman on the Bible. I conquer your honor, the battle reformer, son of man contra, dead man becomes a warrior's tragedy, father's palmer. My thoughts is elevated, ours were related, so keep this in mind, my Swiss place is double plated. I take off the heads of those who worship Adam and Eve, from the Garden of Eden, follow the Prince of Thieves. I aim to guard you at the lyrical burglar, and surprise her from killing like Cain did the first murder. Fat black boots, military gear, they go out like troops. Grab your army suits and the fat black boots, military gear, they go out like troops. Grab your army suits and the fat black boots, military gear, they go out like troops. Grab your army suits and the fat black boots, military gear, they go out like troops.
Silent weapons, instruments of combat, used in quiet wars when I attack. MCs become POWs, missing an act.
On 48 Hours.
They had my mind.
Coach.
I almost killed my dad.
Guns.
They really had a massive plan to arm themselves.
And mind control.
I was physically, emotionally, spiritually, and sexually tortured and abused.
Father I can't hate. He's father.
The standoff at Waco.
What they've got in Waco is a mere preview of what we could have here.
Could it happen again? One bloody battle is over.
They were waiting for us. It was simply an ambush.
But the question remains.
Do you believe that David Koresh was tipped off?
Yes.
Why'd you do that for?
Why did this happen?
You'll share one mother's agony.
Regardless of what the reality in there is, Dave Thibodeau knows his mom's here.
And another mother's dark secret.
Does he look so much like his...
That's pretty dramatic. What else do we need to say? Man, that was some dramatic footage there.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting sum up for just a few seconds.
Well, it appears that so there's a documentary that is really the main one about this. And it's one that shows the conspiratorial angle of it.
Mm-hmm.
But this appears to be one that was put out over the mainstream. This appears to be the viewpoint of what the mainstream put out about Koresh, not about the subsequent documentary, conspiracy theory type documentary about it. I forget what that one's called. I'll look for it. But in the meantime, I definitely want to stay with this for a minute, for a bit, and let's check out what was going on with the mainstream at the time. Because I think most people at the time, they were just following the mainstream. Most people you'd ask back then about Koresh, he was crazy madman who was mind controlling little kids and all this shit.
Oh yeah, I mean that's how I perceived it when I first heard of him, you know.
Yeah, man. All right, let's check it out a little bit.
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's special live edition of 48 Hours. A Texas prairie 10 miles east of Waco is ground zero in a smoldering holy war, a test of will that has already claimed at least 6 lives. Tonight, the FBI says talks are closer to gaining the release of as many as 30 of the 105 members, perhaps even some of the 17 children remaining inside this heavily armed compound of cult leader David Koresh. The tense standoff between the cult and federal agents is about to enter its 19th day. Tonight, we peel back the layers of this chilling story, a story that reaches far beyond Waco. We're about to visit a dark corner of American life, the world of cults, where some members live not only with faith, but also with fear.
Can you tell them their names? What's this?
Brontosaurus.
And
Buns and her 4-year-old son, Sean, share a secret.
here's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Sean looks like his father because he looks so much like his father. I can't hate his father.
Robin says Sean's father is David Koresh. Fearing for her life, she's been hiding under police protection in a Los Angeles suburb.
Told my mother that, you know, someday you might have to go kill Robin and David, my brother.
Told your mother that she may have to kill her son and daughter.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why she left.
There's a madman living in Waco. Now, for the first time since the Waco siege, Robin has agreed to talk openly about Koresh, who she knew by his given name, Vernon Howell.
I was one of his wives. I was just a single girl, and we were having babies for God.
Wow. Looks like I stumbled onto a little chunk of history here. I don't remember any of this stuff.
Yeah, this was interesting.
I know. That's what's funny about these old documentaries, man. Evidence of revision. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, a lot of people have come out subsequently and said that all the whole thing, all this stuff was made up. That he wasn't doing any of this. So this is all bullshit here. These would be considered crisis actors back in the day. Because this whole thing is a suspect whether it's real or not.
Plus, that's kind of interesting.
I know, and plus David Koresh's wife over there, her tits about to hang out of that shirt. All right, here we go.
So how's God going to talk to me in the latter days?
It's going to be written.
And who's going to bring that book? So there'll be no excuses.
6 years ago, Robin says Koresh picked her to be one of his many so-called wives.
Fourth wife.
She was just 17.
I was one of the first ones. I was one of the first ones that everybody knew about anyway.
Robin was a child of the cult. Both parents were members. They lived with Koresh in Texas and California.
That Koresh will commit suicide. I think that he wants to maintain the image of being...
Robin's mother, Janine, also considered herself Koresh's wife, even though she was legally married to another cult member.
Yeah, I was his wife. I was, and so was my daughter, and so was 15 other people in there.
When Robin and Janine Buns were still active in the cult, they lived in this house in nearby Laverne, California. Sometimes there were as many as 25 women who lived behind this white picket fence. And Robin and Janine say all of the women were available for whatever Koresh had in mind.
Vernon had his own room there at the end of the hall.
So this is David Koresh's den of sex and debauchery before he had the quote-unquote compound. Check that house out, man. He must have been getting some donations up there, huh? And, you know, that was...
like he was doing pretty well.
Did you hear that music earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was him. He had a whole thing going on, man. He's got the hair. I mean, man, come on. Check it out, man. Maybe he was a cult leader, and we were wrong about him. I mean, check this shit out. I mean, I'm just saying.
No, I mean, you know.
You know, hey, Gang of Four, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Nice to see you, bruh. Here you go. Check it out.
With his harem house.
Ooh, she's hot. I mean, look, man, she doesn't seem like she's too upset about being old Dave's wife, man. Let me just go back there for a second. She's reminiscing. She's got a smile on her face.
Janine say all of the women were available for whatever Koresh had in mind.
Vernon had his own room there at the end of the hall. With his harem house. And sometimes he'd say, I want to talk to you later. That was his way of saying, you know, come up and see me. You know?
All these cult leaders are just this.
She doesn't sound traumatized by having to come up there when he said, come up and see me later.
Yeah, you know, that was his secret code. She's she's like all cool with that.
I'm just saying, she thinks it's funny. I mean,
yeah, she doesn't seem like a real trauma victim.
No, she doesn't seem like part of the Me Too movement.
They're like spoiled children.
Rick Ross helps people break away from cults.
All right.
Aaron, calm down.
Aaron.
Leave me alone.
We first met him 4 years ago on 48 Hours when a woman hired him to rescue her son.
I mean, are they about the Bible, or are they just a bunch of guys who want to control people?
Since then, he's counseled the families of several members of Koresh's cult.
Well, he is a very charismatic individual. He's a good speaker. He knows how to do a heck of a tap dance through the Bible.
When Christ reveals himself, it's going to be according to the book.
Koresh is a 33-year-old Texan, a high school dropout with a knack for reciting Bible verses. He was never in trouble with the law until he took over the Branch Davidian sect in 1987. That was after a bloody gun battle with another faction in Waco. He was acquitted of all charges, and soon, Koresh was seeking higher office.
I didn't know he was involved in a bloody gun battle with another faction.
No, I didn't know that either.
Let me rewind that, man. I want to hear that again. Hold on a second.
According to the book.
Koresh is a 33-year-old Texan, a high school dropout with a knack for reciting Bible verses. He was never in trouble with the law until he took over the Branch Davidian sect in 1987. That was after a bloody gun battle with another faction in Waco. He was acquitted of all charges, and soon, Koresh was seeking higher office.
Okay, so hold on a second. Let me get this straight. Hold on a minute. Let me make this small again. I'm making the screen small again. Massa. So let me get this straight. He got in a bloody gun battle with another sect in Waco before he was Mr. Crazy Man in Waco. So if that's the case, then why didn't they snatch this dude when he was walking around town when they had the opportunity? Why did they? I'm just saying, if they acted like they had no idea that, you know, he was a bloody gun battler.
Well, seeing as that was all in Texas, you know, if the other side shot first, then they'll just give him a pass.
Well, yeah, I believe you. But the thing is, the sheriff could have got him when he was in town, and they didn't the day before this all happened.
Son of God.
He truly believes that he's the Son of God.
You believe.
Isn't everybody the Son of God?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not. I mean, aren't we all God's children? So whether you're a daughter of God or a son of God, that doesn't mean you're Jesus if you're say you're a son of God, right?
I think that's kind of where he was going with it, though.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm always skeptical, though, so you know me, man. If I was over here listening to David Koresh, I'd probably be asking some questions. I'd probably get ushered out. And say, get Jimmy the fuck out of here, man.
Probably like for a month.
Do you believe that he's the Messiah? Today?
Sometimes.
Sorry?
Sometimes.
Even now?
Even now. Because of the way that the events are turning out now, he had predicted all this to happen. He told us that it would end up this way, that he would be a martyr.
Correct me, stop me if I'm putting words in your mouth, but, I mean, you think he still may be Jesus?
Well, I think that, and yet I push it out of my mind, because if he is, and I have left the group, then I'm lost. And I don't like to think that.
I waited patiently on the Lord. He inclined to me when he heard my cry. He brought me up out of a horrible pit.
These people believe that God is Koresh, Koresh is God?
Right. Basically, what Koresh has done is gone through more or less standard brainwashing techniques to control the minds of these followers.
What was his pitch when he hooked you?
He didn't have a pitch. It was just scriptures. Scripture after scripture after scripture. And the studies are so long. And your food deprivation, and you can't go to the bathroom during these studies, and lack of sleep, that, you know, you're brainwashed. It's a brainwashing.
Okay, so it sounds like Jonestown.
Yeah.
It's all of a sudden starting to sound like Jonestown. So we got to I'm going to rewind it later or listen to this later and remember what his real name is, because we got to look into that guy. We got to see his real name. I bet you he's been doing some works.
Want to admit it. We want to say, nah, that happens to some crazy person down the street. Their family. Could never happen to me. Well, think again. It could happen to anyone given the right set of circumstances.
Can I tell you,
and the leader.
With respect, I don't believe you. I don't believe it could happen to me. I mean, if somebody comes up to me and tells me he's Jesus,
he'd catch you when you were stressed out about something, when you were depressed, when you were out of sorts about something in your life, and then all of a sudden these wonderful, loving people would come to you and they would say, you know, God loves you, and we love you, and we just want to can we give you a hug?
It's just a gradual thing. It's not something that happened overnight. And he's a very personable person. He's a very lovable person. He's kind. He loves children. And he really knows what he's talking about.
By all accounts, Koresh was a smooth talker when it came to dealing with adults. But Robin says there was nothing smooth about his approach to children.
I would make him go roar.
Sean didn't like his father. By the time Sean was to Vernon old enough to spank, which was 9 months old, Sean was scared of this person because he was a complete and total stranger. So Vernon decided that the way to stop this was to spank him. And
a 9-month-old?
Yeah. He would hit him with a paddle. He spanked him one time very hard, and his bottom bled.
He spanked him until his rear end bled when he was 10 months old? How did you feel about that?
Out of everything that I ever did in that group, probably that's the only thing that I can think of that I really, really, really despise that I allowed to happen.
Can I have a kiss?
In 1990, life inside the cult became too controlled for Robin, so she left.
Is he crazy?
He doesn't seem crazy.
He doesn't?
No,
Stockpiling
he
guns
seems
and
very
talking about
sane.
Armageddon and
Well,
saying
now
I'm
he
Jesus?
seems crazy because I'm out here and I'm not there, and I look at him now and I'm like, God, he's lost his mind. You know, he really has.
I'm about to introduce you to a brand new cereal.
Hammer is the only target can't give a loan to a
Tip him off.
Raid relied on the element of surprise, and yet at least 2 television stations involved in what the Treasury. Is that
A hospital is shut down and a doctor's dream destroyed.
I have to buy that clinic. I can't give a loan to a single woman.
Dr. Quinn at a special time Saturday.
These guns have come off the street, semi-automatics. These are the MAC-10s,
illegal firearms?
pistols, revolvers.
That's what the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms goes after.
The larger 9mm handguns,
And what agents were looking for in David Koresh's compound.
AR-15s, other types of long guns.
Do you have any idea of how much firepower like this he...
Make sure they mention that AR-15 and other long guns. Huh.
It looks more like an armory than a compound.
Yeah, man. They're looking like they're ready for Armageddon, man. Look at that shit.
Crazy.
What I'm
Hey,
wondering...
man,
Well, we'll see...
I'm going to take my step back now, and I'll probably watch or listen a little longer, but I'm going to be
yeah,
bailing out on you.
Yeah, what I'm wondering is if they burn the place down, what do these pictures come from? In other words, how do they have these pictures of his arsenal? This must just be pictures of an arsenal, but not...
Well, yeah, and not only that, if they burn the place down, don't the bullets go off in the fire?
I know. I'm just saying, where did they get their shot? This is footage.
Maybe it's pre-fire footage.
stock file footage or some police, whatever. What do they call that? Those rooms where they keep the shit they find. Anyway, all right, bro.
The evidence room.
Yeah, the evidence room down at the local police station. All right, brother. We'll see you soon, and have a great day tomorrow.
I will.
All right, excellent.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Catch
night.
you on Friday night.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We're certainly talking about dozens, if not hundreds, of weapons like this and others.
Stephen Higgins is the director of this arm of the Treasury. Is that illegal to collect guns like this?
It's not illegal to collect guns like this. What is illegal is if you take a weapon like this and you convert it to fire automatically. We know that certain parts have been ordered and they have that capability to do that. We suspect that that's probably been done.
Is that how the ATF got involved then?
Yes.
Involved in what turned out to be one of the deadliest days in ATF's history. Did you feel, and did the agency feel, that there was an urgency about getting into the compound?
Once we had enough information that we felt justified getting the search warrants and the arrest warrants, we moved and we acted.
The plan to serve those warrants followed months of training. Agents expected to get into the compound and separate the weapons from those who could use them.
But they were waiting for us. It was simply an ambush.
While there's a lot that we still don't know about what happened that morning, there is one point on which everyone agrees, that the ATF raid relied on the element of surprise. And yet at least 2 television stations in Waco report that they had learned from their own sources not only what was about to happen, but when.
Do you believe that David Koresh was tipped off?
Yes.
Do you know who did tip him off?
I believe that I think that I probably know who tipped him off at this point, but there's still a lot of investigation to be done.
Can you give me at least a general idea where the tip came? Did it come from media? Did it come from other law enforcement? Did it come from people in the town? Where do you think the tip came from?
I wouldn't want to say that right now.
But it's obvious in the confusing moments just after the raid that the ATF agents were disturbed by the presence of reporters.
I need help! I am! Move! Go!
And just today, an agent who was wounded in the raid, John Reisenhoover, on his own filed a civil suit against the owners of the Waco Tribune-Herald, alleging the newspaper tipped Koresh off. The newspaper denies the charge, and all Higgins would say is that the tip, whomever it came from, turned the tables on the ATF.
But it depended on the surprise, and being done in a very quick period of time, we lost that element of surprise.
Instead, ATF agents were met by a hail of bullets as they attempted to storm the weapons room. The officers, seen here, were all part of a special response team based in New Orleans.
Were these guys the first ones in most of these kind of raids?
These are the first ones in.
Do it!
That's their job. These are the same guys who put their lives on the line during a series of raids that 48 Hours followed 2.5 years ago. Back then, we had to conceal their identities. But now we can show you the faces of 2 of those agents. 28-year-old Todd McKeon and 30-year-old Conway LeBleu. Both were part of the assault team in Waco. With shots splintering through the wall, a fellow officer barely escaped with his life. Todd McKeon and Conway LeBleu were not so lucky. They, along with fellow agents Steve Willis and Robert Williams, were all killed in the raid. Was it realistic for the ATF agents to rely on surprise?
No, it was not.
Tony.
In Los Angeles, a gang of bank robbers turned their guns on police.
You know, his mindset was on killing us.
Officers are pinned down in the kill zone by a hail of deadly bullets.
So many people thought that was their last day on Earth.
As As the number of wounded climbs, police risk their lives to rescue those trapped in the line of fire.
We knew an officer had been shot. He needed help, and he needed to be rescued.
Police and rescue squads watch in horror as fellow officers lie bleeding. Pinned down and outgunned, they face terrible odds as they respond to a desperate cry, "Officer down."
Cooper is a law enforcement consultant who teaches terrorism and conflict resolution at the University of Texas at Dallas.
It was a location where surprise simply could not work. This place stood out. It was in a relatively bare landscape.
When you look back, did you depend too much on that element of surprise? Did you count too much on the fact that Koresh would be surprised in this?
I've looked at it and rethought it, and I think everybody else has. I've talked with the people who were part of that, those that were wounded, those that were team leaders. They feel like there was no problem with the plan. They're used to doing things that depend on surprise.
Hold to the right!
This was foreseeably a military-style operation. BATF is a civilian law enforcement agency. They underestimated the risks, they underestimated what they were facing.
What the ATF is facing now is growing criticism from those who question not only how the agents carried out the raid, but whether they should have been there at all.
There would be some people who would say, well, they were defending their home.
We didn't come in with guns smoking. We announced our presence and said we had a warrant. Happens all over this country, night after night after night. If it's justifiable to shoot a law enforcement officer because you're somehow protecting your home against somebody who's serving a lawful warrant, then God help us.
What?
Is facing now is growing criticism from those who question not only how the agents carried out the raid, but whether they should have been there at all.
There would be some people who would say, well, they were defending their home.
We didn't come in with guns smoking. We announced our presence and said we had a warrant. Happens all over this country, night after night after night. If it's justifiable to shoot a law enforcement officer because you're somehow protecting your home against somebody who's serving a lawful warrant, then God help us.
Introducing Red Lobster. Grown men, watch out, America.
At least on
the Livingston Enterprise.
Waco is part of a state that likes to brag about having the biggest and the bestest, I said in the column. And at least on the area of armed cults, we've got a bigger one.
It was 12 years ago when life in this majestic part of the world began to change, and some people began to worry. That's when the religious group from Southern California came in, the Church Universal and Triumphant, CUT, or CUT, as the locals call it. CUT bought up thousands of acres of ranch land here in the Paradise Valley, and then the members came, as many as 2,000 members, practicing a New Age, doomsday is near religion, led by a charismatic woman they call Guru Ma.
Chelas of my first love.
She's Elizabeth Clare Prophet, and she married into the church, a church started by her late husband, a vacuum cleaner salesman. Now, she claims to be the reincarnation of a number of people, including Queen Guinevere.
And I anchor here, my causal body of love.
The Crow Indians were kind of our allies, and this was Crow country.
Pete Story's family's been in this valley from territorial days. His forebears were the first to bring ranching to Paradise Valley.
My great-granddad, though, got along well with the Indians.
And in that tradition, Pete welcomed the church and its members when they first came.
Now you can see that thing up ahead of you. See that big arch? That is an entrance to a bomb shelter.
What's a bomb shelter doing up there?
One of the rumors is that they do have armored vehicles. And if they do, that's probably where they are. This thing made me mad.
But if the bomb shelter made him mad, that was nothing compared to what came next.
I think those are gun slits.
On the edge of your property.
It's an anathema to me. We think it's entirely inappropriate to have that structure in this beautiful, peaceful valley.
Do you take it as a hostile action?
Yes. Good neighbors don't build fortifications between themselves.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Hi, can we talk to you for a minute? We're curious about this structure up here. Can you tell us what it's all about?
That's a stone structure. We use it to hold our towers, our radio. That's what we use it for.
Uh-huh. But are those truly gun slits there where you can...
No, there's no gun slits.
No.
No. No, those are observation windows.
This is not a heavily armed enclave?
No, no. No, I would say honestly that if we had as many guns as Pete has in his house, I'd be surprised.
It's more than what Pete and others in the valley see. It's what they've had hints of that shakes them up.
The firearms we sought to acquire were to be used only for defensive purposes.
3 years ago, Guru Ma's current husband, himself a church vice president, was convicted of illegal arms dealings. Authorities found weapons and documents.
And the documents obviously show that they really had a massive plan to arm themselves to the teeth. One reference here to equip an army of 200 men. This is parts for AR-15s, which is an automatic or semi-automatic rifle.
Not a hunting rifle.
Not a hunting rifle. And when they say they've got them for self-defense or for gopher shooting, I mean, that just doesn't cut it. This one refers to something being a real man-stopper. It ranges up to 400 yards. Here's correspondence relating to their wishes to purchase a tank.
A tank?
Right. There's an outfit in New Jersey called Tanks a Lot, believe it or not. And I don't know a gopher in Park County that needs a tank to wipe it out.
What is the threat? What's the threat to the outside world as long as they're doing their thing back behind the barbed wire?
Well, I guess you could ask that same question down in Waco, couldn't you?
50 caliber Barrett semi-automatic weapon with armor-piercing ammunition. You know what that would do to a buffalo? Instant sausage.
Kathy Schmuck, writer, activist, and surrounded by church members.
They're a very, very dangerous group, and the sad thing is they don't really know how dangerous they are. Only Elizabeth Prophet knows.
I am the violet flame in mighty cosmic power.
We wanted to ask the church leader about the allegations. At first, we were refused an interview. But after we'd spoken to critics in the community, she was made available to us in New York while preaching how to plug into God every day.
Plug into God frequently, easily, quickly, for 30 seconds.
We asked about the alleged powerful weapons.
I have never seen them. I have never seen them.
We asked about the documents concerning the alleged intentions of church members to buy tanks.
There are no tanks. I mean, if there was a tank on church property, the whole world would have seen it arrive.
My involvement was to be a truck driver for them.
Don Trowbridge was in the church 10 years.
I know I handled weapons. I know I handled ammunition and a sizable amount to fill up the back of a flatbed. And they were hiding it. You know, they weren't out in the open. They were locked down in the basement of this barn.
We are totally opposed to violence. Violence has come to us in the form of persecution, very intense persecution, including crossing the line of truth and inventing rumors.
But whether it's truth or rumor or a mix of both.
Any bookstore in the world, wherever you go, it's my seed. It's just come off the press. I want to sow this as a seed because I believe in David Sorrell. I believe in Inspiration Networks. I believe in this ministry. And what I make happen for others, God will make happen for me. Somebody's son is going to be set free from alcohol because of your $1,000 seed. Somebody is going to avoid a divorce because of the $1,000 seed. Some girl on drugs whose mama's been praying for her is going to be set free from drugs because of the 1,000. And what I make happen for others, Ephesians 6:8, God will make happen for me. I don't want you to call until I finish my prayer. And as soon as I finish my prayer, I want you to go to the phone, dial the number on the screen, and simply say, I'm one of the 1,000. I'm going to faith in somehow in 90 days, $1,000 seed. You may already have the 1,000. It may be something you put aside for retirement or a college or a vacation. You may have put some money aside that nobody knows about, and God's given you a picture. It may be in the bottom of your closet, maybe in a sock, maybe between your mattresses. It may be an account that nobody knows about, but you and God. That's not your harvest. That $1,000 won't get you anywhere until God touches it. Everything God touches multiplies. Precious Holy Spirit, I ask you for 1,000 miracles within 90 days. I don't know who the 1,000 people are, but there's 1,000 watching me that needs a harvest much more than they need the seed. They know, like I know, they can't do very much with 1,000. Probably can't buy a real good soul.
About the first time I saw you, baby. Yeah. We fell in love so fast. Anyone could tell this kind of love has got to last. Thank you. I wanna tie you, baby. Thank you. Yeah. I wanna tie you, baby. I got to thank you for being mine. Oh, you're mine. Remembering when I first saw you, baby, how I wished that you were mine. You know what I did? Had a little talk with the man upstairs. I said, Lord, won't you please make a mine? Tie you, baby. Oh, thank you. Thank you. We love you. sunshine. Everybody loves the sunshine. Sunshine. Folks get down in the sunshine. Sunshine. Folks get brown in the sunshine. Just bees and things and flowers. Just bees and things and flowers. Just bees and things and flowers.
I want to win some tennis shoes for my little Irvin.
Mega Mascara by L'Oréal Paris.
Watching me.
I'm just an average man. feminine candle. Oh, that shit is on? Let me drop some shit like this here. At night I can't sleep, I toss and turn. Candlesticks in the dark, visions of bodies being burned. Four walls just staring at a nigga. I'm paranoid, sleeping with my finger on the trigger. My mother's always stressing I ain't living right, but I ain't going out without a fight. See, every time my eyes close, I start sweating and blood starts coming out my nose. It's somebody watching the act, but I don't know who it is, so I'm watching my back. I can see him when I'm deep in the covers. When I awake, I don't see the motherfucker. He owns a black hat like I own, a black suit and a cane like my own. Some might say take a chill, B, but fuck that shit. There's a nigga trying to kill me.
Now I got a commercial to deal with. Kind of puts a hamper on the old mix right in the middle of it. Oh, man.
That's somebody else's farm. Where is it exactly? Can you point it?
On a hilltop outside Waco, a mother searches for her son.
Well, oh God. It's on the horizon. We're a long way from it.
She's been here nearly a week.
I don't know who's in there alive. I don't know who's in there wounded or other. I have no information. Nobody does.
And Belinda Gainham still doesn't know whether her son is dead or alive in the Davidian compound.
He knows I'm here.
How does he know?
Because he knows me. He knows I'm here because he knows me. I mean, regardless of what the reality in there is, Dave Thibodeau knows his mom's here because that's the kind of, friend he's got in his mother.
David's mother came from Bangor, Maine to find her 24-year-old son and to solve a mystery.
In many ways, I just don't know what the truth could even possibly be.
Is the man in the compound still David, the son she raised and loved?
I would like to get a sense of what my son's role is in this whole nightmare.
The spirit that moved Dave to Waco 2 years ago was music. He was David Koresh's drummer.
So, in his way, this was paradise for him.
He did not come into this from the spiritual aspect first. That happened later on because it's part and parcel with the atmosphere, with the community.
But it did happen.
Yeah, it did happen. He started to study the scripture. He started to, wonder. He started to develop questions. Hi, did you come here when it was the Q Sticks?
She's working the bars he used to play.
I am Belinda Gainham, and Dave Thibodeau is my son, and I'm so glad that you came.
Talking to the people he used to know.
Your son, he didn't seem like he was caught up in it like a robot as much. I like Dave a lot. He was the only one that, like I could say, I could consider a friend out of that whole group.
Thank you. We would say to him, Dave, what are you doing? How are you earning your money? And it was continuously, I'm playing the drums. I'm being paid to play the drums. I'm a musician.
The need to hear those drums brought her to the hillside tonight. Yesterday, there were reports of music from the compound.
And if it is live music, what does that mean?
Well, it means the band's intact.
And if you hear drums?
It means that my kid might be playing them.
Nothing was heard the rest of the night. The days drag on.
I just haven't had enough sleep.
Y'all sold about 30 yesterday and about 70 today.
Belinda is offended by the circus.
Because he makes fun of my Jesus, so I want to poke fun of him.
You got to look at the skyline. It's getting a little dark. I'm not sure.
Assaulted by publicity.
That's it. It ends right here. These people here are experiencing an event. I'm experiencing a nightmare.
At the center of attention, she tries to stand up for her son and question the official version of the shootout.
Just present an opposing view from what the world seems to have right now. There's an armed situation that has his safety in jeopardy, and I don't think that's his fault.
What's your name, ma'am?
How did this happen? Why did this happen? How did this attack ever come about?
I think, to be honest, a lot of people at home may be saying to themselves right now, when a policeman comes to your door, you don't shoot him.
I think, again, like I say, that when a policeman comes to your door, he doesn't shoot at you. I mean, I don't know what the facts are.
Every morning, she looks for news. Is Dave alive?
Mr. Koresh had indicated that these individuals were free to leave at any time. The individuals contacted were David Thibodeau.
Oh, thank God they contacted him.
They've talked to him.
Yes, that's incredible. That's incredible. That's incredible. Now I know he's not one of the dead people inside the compound. Oh, my God.
He's alive, but not safe.
We have discussions with Koresh. He has made such statements as, "We are ready for war. Let's get it on."
Belinda holds on to the memories of the last time she saw her son.
We were taking a walk somewhere and he held my hand for a moment. And I think that that's the worst of it, is wondering if that's ever going to happen to me again. Because I remember so clearly what that feels like. That's where the pain comes from.
Saturday at a special time, a medical clinic is in foreclosure.
She'll have to vacate immediately.
People's lives are at stake.
And one woman's only hope
I have to buy that clinic.
is destroyed by greed and intolerance.
I can't give a loan to a single woman.
Can't or won't.
Dr. Quinn, Saturday at a special time.
Another day is drawing to a close, and all kinds of people all over the country are heading home for dinner. And no matter who they are,
post office to send 2-day.
Continually tried to negotiate. Two innocents in there are the children.
Post office to send 2-day prior.
The adults are there because of choice. We believe the true innocents in there are the children. And we have continually tried to negotiate the release of those children. It will be, to us, a tremendous sign if the children start coming out again.
No children have been released from the Branch Davidian compound in almost 2 weeks. The last kids out, 21 in all, had been sent off by their parents to become wards of the state.
How are the kids doing now, man?
I haven't seen them yet. Where do you want the children to go?
The courts are now deciding their fate. And relatives from around the world are coming to Waco to fight to take them home.
Have you been worried about Joanne these years?
Yes. How can I not?
Ursula Gurman has come from Hawaii to try to convince the court to release her 7-year-old sister, Joanne.
She's just beautiful. She's got long, beautiful...
Ahead to our next report. It's a world you've never seen.
Late night is very special.
Right, Tony, you look at the fish.
The Graveyard Shift.
We actually have to fight to stay awake here.
The Insomniac.
I won't go to sleep.
It doesn't get more severe than this.
The Creatures of the Night.
The witching hour has begun.
While you're asleep, they come alive. All night long.
The vibe at night is clearer.
Next week.
I'm trying to win a PS5.
All right. Well, I'm going to cruise. I'll see you guys. This actually turned out to be pretty good. A lot of information, a lot of stuff to think about. Hope you have a great night. Thanks for joining me. Thanks, John. Thanks, Zoe. Thanks, Slappy. Thanks, Lewis Taw. I know you're in there somewhere. Droney. All of you. Gang of Four. Robin. Peppy. All right. I'll see you. Thanks, Regla.